This is Texans TV.
Up next, we're talking with the head coach as well as the general manager. The calm before the storm on Texans 360.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Rock and roll.
You already know what time it is, man.
Touchdown, Texans.
I got cleats for all y'all.
He's in. Rock and roll.
That's when you think you've seen it all. There's always something else.
Let's go. They go home. They go home.
Hey there, and welcome into Texans 360. My name is Drew Doherty. We're so very happy that you're with us because this is DP Sidhu. She's with us too. DP, we're going to have a big show today. You ready?
I am ready. I'm excited. This time of year's fun. Wrapped up an off-season program, got more to look forward to. Lots to catch up on.
Yeah, and as you've said and we've said, it's the calm before the storm because training camp begins in about a month, and we'll get into that a little later. Plus, you went one-on-one with the running backs coach, Danny Barrett.
I did.
We also had Nick Casario, the GM, one-on-one, and so much more. But let's start with some news of the week. Like you mentioned, Minicamp wrapped up. It was Tuesday, it was Wednesday, and there was a lot of work that got done. It was mandatory. Everybody was in attendance. Everybody was out there. And I think takeaways, we saw a unit, a team that keeps on getting better and keeps on pushing towards the 2022 campaign, right?
Yeah, and I think we always wonder, what's the difference between OTAs and Minicamp, other than the fact that one's mandatory and one's voluntary. And I think we saw it in how it was structured. There was a lot of situational work, 2-minute drills. Mm-hmm. It's still very much an instructional time of year. They're not really doing a whole lot of installation, but it's going to be up for the players to retain that and then absolutely be able to execute that once training camp rolls around. But I think overall it was great. It was great to see everybody out there on the field. Larry Tunsil was back.
Yes.
Lovie Smith talked about it, but you know what, overall, I think a good mini camp as everyone heads off for their break now.
The head coach, it was his first mini camp, and he just got through his first OTAs as well. And our guys, John Harris and Mark Vandermeer, caught up with him.
Davis is the one a lot of people focus on, Coach.
Yes,
What'd you see from Davis this time around in the offseason after playing as a rookie? Worked out, like you said, and that was a big deal. He mentioned it too, being here for the offseason before the program started. What did you see from him during that period, during OTAs and minicamps?
We saw growth throughout. He's one of the players that every day the building is open, he's been here. There's a lot that goes into that. And for him to move into that role, quarterback's going to be one of your leaders on every football team. And guys have gotten a chance to see him. And I've seen him, last year I didn't hear him, he wasn't leading an awful lot, but now his voice, when he speaks,
yeah,
we all listen, the team listens. And for him, though, to just go through each day and get more and more confidence, and being able to work with the receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, getting more and more control of the offense daily, finishing right up with a good 2-minute drill, last thing we did today.
Well, we noticed that, of course, and the situational work in general, Coach. Red area, 2-minute drill, clock situations. Can you discuss what goes into deciding what you do in practice? And I got to imagine in training camp you're going to have even more of that.
More of that. Well, what goes into our practice in general, all the situations that come up in a game. The first couple of weeks, of course, we concentrate a lot on first, second down, and third down. You mentioned red zone work. It's critical. It's important, and we've done a lot of it, especially lately. But games, if you look at games, it's how you handle situations at the end of the game, end of the half, end of the game. And believe me, no one will work on those more than we will. And we got a chance to do a little bit right now, but this is just an interest to training camp where we really get a chance. There's so many other things that we're able to introduce to our players. We will practice all of our workouts that we've done so far have been at 8 a.m. in the morning. We'll continue to do that in training camp, which is a little different than probably, past years. We'll practice every morning at 8 a.m. And I think it's good for young people to learn how to start the day earlier, get up early in the morning, and get your work in, and then have the rest of the day, of course, to see exactly what you're able to do there. So many things we're able to establish this offseason. Looking forward to it.
Couple more for you. You open up against the Colts.
Yes.
How much I hate to call it game planning, but how much planning do you do for the opponents, research on what they're doing this time of year or what you've already done? Because you can't wait till the week of, I get that, but how's that handled with you and Nick or however it's handled?
Well, we keep track of what's happening, especially in the AFC South. And, of course, opening up with an AFC South opponent. But at the same time, we know quite a bit. Of course, Tennessee and the Colts, keeping the same staffs in place. We're pretty familiar with them, but there's a lot that goes in long before, we get to preseason games and the regular season. We're always kind of paying attention to what's going on with them.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot for joining us.
Anytime.
Have a great break.
It's good to hear from the head coach, and he made his bones back in 2000s or in the 2000s with a couple of linebackers in Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs who were dynamite. One of them was in the Hall of Fame. The other was at the Pro Bowl year after year after year. Okay, so speaking of the linebackers for the Texans, the same group for the most part comes back, and you've injected a little life in the form of Christian Harris out of Alabama, who got folks pretty excited in the draft. But tell me about Christian Kirksey, and we're going to hear from him a little later. He's calling the plays again. It's year 2 in the system, in this defense. That's a pretty important part of everything, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, Christian Kirksey signed here as a free agent last year, but it seemed like very early on we saw him emerge as a leader of that defense. I mean, I don't know if it's his personality, his charisma, how he carries himself. Maybe it's the experience. Maybe it's all three. But to see a guy like that return for year 2 in Lovie's system, I think it'll be really good for some of the linebackers, the younger linebackers, like you mentioned, Christian Harris. And he knows his defense, right? It's not something new that he's got to learn. The offense is still ironing things out with Pep Hamilton, but the defense is going to be the same. It's still going to be Lovie Smith calling things, and it's a very linebacker-friendly defense, which also means a lot's expected of these guys. So it is good to see guys like him, Kamu Grugier-Hill, Kevin Pierre-Louis, and those guys return for a second year because at least there's some continuity when it comes to the linebackers.
Yeah, and in speaking of Kirksey, we've heard Lovie Smith multiple times say, hey, Kirksey is the alpha there as far as leading, like you mentioned, and kind of showing what needs to happen and kind of getting the room together. But you brought up Harris. He was somebody that really geeked up Lovie Smith on the night the guy was drafted. I mean, big chest bump with Nick Casario when that all went down. Harris is going to be a fun fit for this defense, don't you think? I
am so intrigued by him. The fact that he didn't start playing linebacker till he got to Alabama is so interesting to me. But you know what? I can see what they liked in him. I think he sort of fits the measurables that Lovie Smith wants to see in his linebackers. And they liked what they saw, obviously, on film from Christian Harris. But I'm very intrigued to see when he steps in, how they sort of ramp him up. Because I don't know, we don't really see rookies starting out the gate, but as the season progresses, like last year, guys like Garrett Wallace started getting meaningful snaps in that linebacker group. So I'm curious to see what that sort of looks like for Christian Harris as that unfolds, because Lovie Smith was super excited when the Texans were able to get him. They thought he was going to go a little bit earlier, but they were able to wait. They still got the guy they wanted, and now let's see how he fits in.
And now let's see more of the alpha, the guy we were talking about, Christian Kirksey. He was wearing a wire. We had him mic'd up at practice.
Mario, what's happening? You deep at fullback, ain't you? You deep at fullback, ain't you? Hey, man, hey, great blocking, bro. Great blocking. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, man. Sometimes it's just
we should go talk to them. I'll be the fullback, you be the runner.
You know what I'm saying?
You made me mad, though. I ain't gonna block for you.
That's crazy.
I know, I ain't gonna.
That's crazy.
Kirk, I took my C4 at 10:35 p.m.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you ready?
Bro, so I don't know what CJ was on yesterday, bro, but he literally woke up like every 2 hours, bro. And like, he usually good, like, he usually sleep through the night. But bro was just waking up. I'm like, man, what's going on, bro? I haven't had a full night's sleep since January, bro.
Saturday day 10. It'll be great today, man. Come on. There you go, Cash. There you go, Cash. Let's have some fun. Be yourself, man. Glory on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Close left. Close left. Huh? Come on now. That was too easy. I like it, 2-7. I love it.
Good work. All right, we finished it the right way. We got to start it like that.
Let's go, man. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Coming up, the tight ends in the spotlight next on Texans 360. This is Brevin Jordan. He catches passes for the Houston Texans. He blocks for the Houston Texans. He's a tight end. It's year 2. Las Vegas Heat or Houston Heat?
Which one do I like more? Which one do I prefer?
You tell me.
I'd probably do Vegas Heat, just because Houston is hot. It's like Vegas Heat with Miami humidity. So it's a little different. I'm still getting used to it. I don't know how y'all get used to it out here. Y'all Houstonians, y'all different for real.
I'm not used to it, and I'm from here. I've been here a while. Okay, you're on an island. You're all by yourself, man, but you have enough food and water that you don't have to worry about that. What are 2 things that you're bringing?
I'll probably bring a book. I'll probably bring the Daily Stoic, just to keep my mind like in a positive place, make sure I don't go crazy. And I'll probably bring my wiener dog, Diva, back home. She's a beautiful dog. She keeps great company. She's like a human in a dog's body, so I'll probably bring her too.
I knew I liked you, Brevin Jordan. My wife and I, my family, we have 2 wiener dogs. One of them might have the worst breath of all time. I mean, just awful, like a dumpster in August with 4 dead bodies in it bad. If you need energy and good times, Brevin Jordan is your guy. That was part of the Drew's Dozen interview that I do with these guys after practices, and he was a good one. He was a fun one. You're a fun one too, DB Sidhu. Thanks for being here today on Texans 360. Drew Doherty here at NRG Stadium. And let's talk about Jordan. Let's talk about the tight ends. Integral part of any offense, but even more so with the Pep Hamilton offense. He's the offensive coordinator, and what the Texans want to do. We've seen some things through May and June, and it's given us a hint of what we might see in September, October, November, and December, but Jordan is going to be a part of all that, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he had to wait a long time to get his first start in meaningful snaps last year, but seeing how he built off of each game as the year progressed, I mean, I'm so excited to see Brevin Jordan. I think the fans are too, especially when it comes to this tight end group. And I think they should be even more excited because Pep Hamilton's offense really relies a lot on tight ends. So you've got him, you've got Pharaoh Brown, and, you know, Davis Mills has had a lot of high praise for Pharaoh Brown this offseason too. He's the veteran, obviously, in that room. And obviously you got Tegan Quintariano and Anthony Auclair, who did some nice things last year, returns for a second year here with the Texans. But the tight end group is going to be intriguing because there's going to be a lot asked of them in this offense. But I think Brevin Jordan making that year 1 to year 2 jump is going to be big for him. And I think there's a lot of expectation for him.
Yeah, and you know, you brought up Pharaoh Brown. He's a guy who we heard from earlier in this week, and he was very optimistic about what's ahead of him based on how this offseason has gone for him. He's integrated hot yoga, a lot of other stuff to kind of meditation to get his body, his mind right, and he's thinking he's primed for perhaps some good things. When he catches the ball and he gets ahead of steam, look out. I mean, we've seen him take on 6, 7, 8 defenders at a time. Just needs to do it more consistently, but he's got the big body, he's got the big frame, and he's thinking good things could be ahead this season.
He's always fun to watch. I mean, he's so big, he's so unstoppable, and he has been in so many different offenses with so many different coordinators. So I think for him, the learning curve, no matter what it is, he's able to take it on. So he just has to translate that to the field. And I think when this tight ends group comes together, I'd like to see him emerge as a leader like he did I know what game you're talking about a couple years ago against the Titans, where that's your son's favorite play.
It is, yes.
Where he just took the entire Titans defense with him. But love to see more of that.
My 6-year-old, when I picked him up from school one time, was explaining to me why Pharaoh Brown was the best tight end in the league because of that one play. So I don't know if I can necessarily agree. I don't want to dog on Pharaoh Brown, but there's another year in the system. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what Nick Casario has up his sleeves. So stick with us. Texans 360 returns in a moment. We're back. DP, Drew, Texans 360, and GM Nick Casario and the rest of the organization about to kind of power down, so to speak, for about the next month or so.
It is always a nice, calm period because it seems like even though it's the off season, we're go, really, from the NFL Combine through the draft, so on and so forth with this off-season workout program. And it's been nice, Drew, because the last few years with COVID, the off-season program's been jiggled around some, but it's been really nice to get out there and actually lay eyes on the draft picks, some of these younger players, some of the free agent signings. So we sort of know what to expect heading into camp. Like, we didn't really have that luxury the last few years.
No doubt. And, speaking of draft picks and signings and the rest of the team, Casario spoke all about that and more with our very own John Harris and Mark Vandermeer on Texans Radio.
Joining us now at Texans Radio, it's Texans General Manager Nick Casario. Nick, it's been a while. I don't think we've spoken since the draft, so welcome back to the studio.
Right after the draft, we were talking about positions maybe you need to have a chance to draft. We talk about edge and hey, man, there might be a few things in the works, and we find out that there were some things in the works. Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes, you bring them along, obviously, with Rasheem Green. And Nick, I've watched those two guys and how they interact with younger players. How valuable was the experience factor of two guys like Mario Addison and Jerry Hughes?
No, it's been really impressive. Mario hasn't necessarily been practicing, but he's been very involved. And when you play against players from afar, you see what they do on the field, how they play, their level of productivity. And Hughes, there's a reason that he's had the longevity that he's had. I'd say his overall day-to-day professional and his approach, how he prepares, his thought process, and we've talked about this at different points too, about leadership. What is leadership about? How does leadership manifest itself? And I'd say in both of those players' case, they're not necessarily vociferous and loud, but they make a huge impact in terms of their actions, and then the way they interact, the way they communicate, with Jock and Kenyon, the way that they work together. It's been fun to watch.
You love it when I ask questions about rookies. So I'm going to ask questions about the second-year guys, because the one thing that I have learned probably more than anything else.
We could talk. Lovie's talked about the rookies.
Yeah, I know
he has.
But you always talk about the rookies in their second year. And it's not so much the second year, but it feels like spring practice going into their sophomore year, Davis, Nico, and that group. What have you seen from that group that you like? The fact that they step in here, don't know anything, go through a season. Now they're into this offseason where they've been around, they kind of know where everything is, and now they're starting to develop into veterans at that point. What do you see for the second-year group, Davis, Nico, Roy, et cetera?
Yeah, I'd say overall they're just more comfortable with everything that comes along with being an NFL player. So they've been able to kind of go through the full year, what works, what doesn't work, what's my routine, okay, this segment of the year, what are the things that are important, what can I work on this particular day, am I making strides in the weight room? You just have an overall, I would say, familiarity with, even though we've had some changes in the building, on the staff, familiarity with the program and the nuances of the day-to-day. So from that perspective, they've done a really good job. I don't want to speak specifically on one player, but I'd say Garrett Wallow's probably done as well as any player on the team from the time that he walked in the building to where he is in the spring. He had an opportunity to play. He's trying to take advantage and build on some of the things that happened, last year. I'd say there's a good example of kind of that year one to year two transition. And really, they walked in the building, call it a year ago at this time. That's when they really just walked in the building and said, okay, this is NFL football. So now having gone through that, they've gotten a lot of reps, and all of them, all five of the guys that have played have been on the field. So they've been out there, they've practiced. So if you're out there and you practice, then you can improve, and you're seeing that, I would say, from all five players.
DB and DP. If that's got you confused, don't worry. Deep Slant with Danny Barrett is coming up next on Texans 360. Texans 360 continues. DP, you did the Deep Slant with Danny Barrett, the running backs coach. He's got some new faces in his room this year, doesn't he?
He sure does. He's been around. This is like year 7 for him, so it's always fun to catch up with him. And yeah, he's got Marlon Mack in there. He's got Damian Pierce. Obviously, Rex Burkhead returns, but this is a completely different group from last year, other than Rex Burkhead. Obviously, Darius Anderson. He's got a few other familiar guys, but I'm really curious to see how this running game meshes because the O-line is different. You got a new O-line coach. Danny Barrett's former teammate at Cincinnati. But, it's exciting. I think a lot of people are really excited to see what these running backs can bring.
And I'm really excited to see this interview that you did with Danny Barrett.
It's the Deep Slant 101 presented by Xfinity. Joining me today, running backs coach Danny Barrett. Danny, off-season programs in the books. How do you think your guys did? What were your goals throughout these last few weeks? And where do you think the group stands as a whole right now?
Well, I thought it was a great off-season for us. We have some great additions to the room coming in with Marlon and Darray and the addition of the young buck, Damian Pierce. So coming into this offseason, we wanted to try to get that continuity and camaraderie, from the group, and I think we developed that.
You mentioned Marlon Mack, big signing for your group this offseason. He's got some experience in the league. He's played at a high level, dealt with some injuries. How do you feel like he's sort of come in and transitioned with the group that you have?
He's come in and done a good job. I thought coming in initially, being the veteran that he is, he came in and kind of got a feel for everybody. They got a feel for him, and since that first week, everything has been smooth sailing for him. And I think he's gotten his confidence back to the level in which he was playing at prior to his injury. You can see the burst and the speed that shows up, which he showed prior to the injury. So we're looking forward to him coming back in the fall and making that room better.
What about for these rookies? What's the biggest goal for them going through the off-season program, and what's that learning curve like as you prepare them for camp?
They have to come in and learn a whole new, really a way of life. How to take care of their bodies, how to learn from different type of instruments, whether it be film, whether it be walkthroughs, and a lot of it's on their own. And he's done a good job coming in and really just trying to learn, what we want him to do on a daily basis. And now, over the break, it's going to be vitally important for him, to continue on that curve and come back feeling even more confident.
What excites you most about your running backs group as you guys head into camp?
Well, again, it's with the pads. We've had a chance to come out and really run with our shorts on and really feel good about things. And now you start putting the pads on. Now a little bit more contact. Can we really sustain, what we've already accomplished, through contact, hanging on to the football and being able to get those tough yardage. So that's what's going to be the key for us coming back. It's going to be a mindset. I've always believed that you have the right mindset each and every day, and I think this room that we have has that.
All right, Danny, appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time, and enjoy your break as well.
I will. Thank you.
That's all the Texans 360 we have for you this week, but we'll do it again next week, and it'll be awesome. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you, DP, for coming by and sharing your wisdom with us. We always appreciate that. It's good.
Love being on here. Check out HoustonTexans.com, because just because the off-season program is over doesn't mean the content quits.
24/7, 365. The Houston Texans mobile app is also phenomenal as well. All right, a lot of folks put this show together. Tyler Marcotte kind of coordinated it all, so thank you to him. Thank you to them. Thank you to you again for watching Texans 360. We'll be back again next week. So long. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.